We're now on day 27 of the Democrat shutdown, and we want to review with you a few pertinent facts and explain a little bit about some of the really painful things that are going on around the country. We're delighted to be joined by our dear friend, Kelly Loeffler, former U.S. Senator and now the leader of the U.S. Small Business Administration, and she can speak specifically to some of the great hardships that are being felt by the people who provide jobs now around this country. Day 27 means it's almost been a full month since the Democrats shut down the government. And as we near the end of this month, the pain being felt by so many hardworking people around this country is very real, and it gets worse with each passing day. Here's some of the stats. Last week, 1.4 million federal workers missed a full paycheck. Now, you know, many of them are furloughed, and many more are deemed essential workers, those who are essential, for example, to keep the country safe. TSA agents we've discussed, and air traffic controllers and border patrol, and of course our troops. But so many of them now are going without pay. The families of military service members and the air traffic controllers and so many of these others are now at very real risk of missing the paycheck at the end of this month. The Trump administration has done everything possible to bend over backwards to try to find sources of funding within the federal government to be able to cover the bases, but it is getting more and more challenging with each day. Now, every Republican in Congress wants to stop this madness desperately, and we have voted many times, over a dozen times, collectively 13 times, to reopen the government, to keep it open and reopen it once the Democrats closed it. But here's the very simple and important fact that no one should forget. We have no ability. Republicans do not have the ability to do this on our own. It's a simple math problem. We need Democrats to help. You need 60 votes in the Senate. We only have 53 Republicans. The Democrats are the ones voting repeatedly to shut down the government. But they're not opening it back up. They spent most of their time trying to distract the American people from the very simple truth. So I brought you a little visual aid here to just remind everybody what the simple facts are. 4 simple facts here. The Democrats are required to open the government. They keep saying Republicans are in charge of government. We aren't, not in the Senate. 60 votes control the Senate, not a bare majority. And so point number 1, Democrat votes are required to open the government. Point number 2, they refuse to do it. They have now voted 12 times to keep the government closed. And they'll have another chance today or tomorrow, maybe multiple times this week, and we'll see what they do. Now, the third point is very important because they've been trying to confuse the American people. They've tried to say this is a fight about health care or this or that or any other thing, and it's very simple. They put this on paper. They made this their demand in writing in the record of the Senate, and it has not changed. These are just 4 subpoints there under fact number 3, but there's many more. But among the things they're demanding, this is what the Democrats in the Senate are demanding to reopen the government. They want to give $200 billion in health benefits to illegal aliens and non-citizens, paid for by U.S. taxpayers. That is in their proposal. They want billions in wasteful programs to be returned to foreign countries. So we stopped these things. They want to turn it all back on. They're demanding that we do all that to get the government open for hardworking Americans again. They want to give $500 million to left-leaning news organizations, and they want to cut $50 billion from rural hospitals. We will not do those things. And they know that very well. Which leads us to point number 4. The Democrats have now openly admitted, and you all had to cover it last week, that they're using the pain of the American people as their leverage. That was the number 2 ranked Democrat in the House, the Democrat, the minority whip, who said that, acknowledged it in an interview, that this is leverage. And Chuck Schumer himself boasted that every day of the shutdown gets better for us. That's his now infamous quote that he wishes he had not said out loud. But you know what they're doing and why. Why are they demanding these things? Why is point number 3 so essential to them? Why would they do this? Because it's unprecedented, as we've noticed, and reminded you all, they voted for CRs every time it was possible in their lives, as recently as March of this year. But they're doing it to appease their far-left Marxist base. That's the headline. That's why. That's why we're all in this mess. That's why the American people are suffering pain, because the Democrats are more afraid of the Marxists in their base than they are of hardworking Americans. See, they've made an evaluation that they have to appease the Marxist base, that they're so concerned that they'll lose their jobs if they don't appease the far left in their party. And they sat in a back room and they made the calculation that they would rather shut the government down and impose all this pain on the American people because they believe the Marxists, the far left and the base, are more active than hardworking Americans, people who go vote. And so they made the calculation that it's worth it to them. Every day gets better for us. We'll use the pain as leverage. For what? To prove to the far left base that they won't give in, that they'll fight Trump and fight the Republicans. What are they fighting? It's a clean CR. It's the same level of funding that they have voted for as recently as earlier this year. They are Biden-level policies and spending. This is not some Republican wish list. We don't have any of our priorities in this at all. It's the Democrats' own product. But they have decided to flip the script this time because they were getting too much heat from the far left. The facts are so simple.
At a press briefing on Monday, House Speaker Mike Johnson, Republican Louisiana, accused Democrats of intentionally prolonging the government shutdown, now in its 27th day. He said millions of Americans are feeling the consequences of what he called the Democrat shutdown, with each day bringing more financial hardship for families and federal workers across the country. Johnson was joined by former U.S. Senator and current head of the Small Business Administration, Kelly Loeffler, who highlighted the strain on small businesses and job providers as the shutdown continues. Johnson noted that 1.4 million federal employees have already missed full paychecks, including essential workers such as TSA agents, air traffic controllers, border patrol officers, and members of the military. While the Trump administration has sought alternative funding sources to sustain critical operations, he warned that options are running out. He emphasized that Republicans have voted over a dozen times to reopen the government but cannot do so without Democratic support, as 60 votes are required in the Senate and Republicans hold only 53 seats. "We want to end this madness," Johnson said, accusing Democrats of voting repeatedly to keep the government closed. According to Johnson, Democratic leaders are attempting to distract the public from the core issue, that their cooperation is needed to reopen the government. Using a visual chart, he outlined what he called 4 simple facts, beginning with the claim that Democratic votes are required to end the shutdown, yet Democrats have refused to act. Johnson alleged that Democrats' conditions for reopening the government include provisions Republicans find unacceptable: $200 billion in health benefits for undocumented immigrants, billions in foreign aid, $500 million for left-leaning media organizations, and $50 billion in cuts to rural hospitals. He argued that Democrats know these demands will never pass and are using them to justify prolonging the impasse. He also accused Democratic leaders of admitting to using the suffering of Americans as leverage, citing statements by top Democrats who, he claimed, view the shutdown as politically advantageous. Johnson referenced reports of Senate Minority Leader Chuck Schumer saying, "Every day of the shutdown gets better for us," suggesting that Democrats are deliberately exploiting the crisis for partisan gain. Johnson asserted that the true reason behind Democrats' actions lies in their fear of alienating their far-left Marxist base. He said party leaders are more concerned with appeasing their activist wing than with addressing the needs of working Americans. By siding with the far left, he argued, Democrats have chosen political posturing over public service. He concluded by emphasizing that Republicans are not pushing any partisan agenda but simply supporting a clean continuing resolution, a temporary funding measure at the same levels Democrats previously approved. Johnson said the only reason Democrats have reversed course is to satisfy the ideological demands of their base, calling the shutdown a manufactured crisis born out of political calculation, not principle.